Hello my friend and welcome back. My name is Oki and today we are doing something a little bit different. Today we are doing a mystery reading, so even I am not entirely sure what this reading will be about. However, since we are drawing close to Samhain, Halloween, All Souls Night, whichever tradition you are celebrating at this time of the year, I decided to do a reading in honor of our ancestors. And to give you the heads up, the main oracle deck I'm using is the Oracle of the Witches. And this deck features women who were persecuted as witches and more often than not paid with their life for it. So if you don't resonate with that, maybe pick another of my themed readings. The link is in the description box below. But if you do want to stay, welcome. And if you want to maybe honor your ancestors or remember a loved one or just give gratitude and appreciation to those who walked this earth before us, then you could simply light a candle, and let's just light a candle together, shall we? Okay. And because it is a spooky season, I decided to let you choose your group by telling you a little story. So just imagine it is maybe 200 years ago and you live in this small remote village. And strangers rarely come to this village because there's not much to see except the little chapel on the hill surrounded by fields. And one night, after a cold and stormy and rainy day, when you're closing the shutters for the night, suddenly you hear a knock on the door. You open the door and all you can see is a dark figure. Whoever it is has drawn the hood of their cloak deep into their face to ward off the weather. But you do hear a voice. Could you spare a bit of food or maybe a coin for an old poor lady? She says. And kind as you are, you gather the best apples from the recent harvest and also give her one of your few shining silver pennies. And as she pockets your gifts, she says, "Thank you for your kindness, and now I will give you a blessing in return." And she pulls out 3 stones and holds them out to you, and she says, "Pick wisely, because you can only pick one." Firstly, we have the mysterious Moonstone, a stone said to increase intuition and psychic abilities, also used in spells for love and fertility. Secondly, we have the obscure Obsidian, a powerful protective stone said to remove all obstacles and blockages, also used for divination and scrying. Thirdly, we have the ancient Ember, a stone said to bring luck and the positivity of the sun. It has been used in amulets since Neolithic times and therefore connects us to our ancestors. And now you pick one of the stones and inspect it more closely. And when you look up, the figure has disappeared into the night. Hello again, and let's get started with your reading. So you picked the mysterious Moonstone, and let's see who is featured on your card. So you have The Witch's Way, Marie Laveau. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And the card says, "May the spirit of Marie Laveau, powerful voodoo queen, guide you on your witch's path. Stay true to your morals, resist temptation and avoid the dark allure of evil magic. Marie Laveau, 1794 to 1881, a famous Louisiana Creole practitioner of voodoo known for her power and influence in New Orleans. She was widely revered and respected by both the free people of color and the white community during her lifetime. And she looks very powerful indeed, with the headdress of gold and with the ornate, is it an amulet maybe? And even her gaze looks very powerful. So I am not quite sure why it says on this card, resist temptation and avoid the dark allure of evil magic. However, what I do know about Marie Laveau is that she was a voodoo practitioner, but also a Catholic, and she sort of mixed both traditions together, and that might have been for her a way to actually avoid persecution, because voodoo, I'm not sure if it was actually illegal, but it certainly was a very repressed practice at that time, and by being Catholic she could definitely maintain her status as a respected member of the community. And apparently she was a herbalist and powerful healer who tended to the people in the community. And I think she is definitely an example of how she managed to follow her own traditions, her own identity, but also find her place in the society she lived in, even though that must have been very difficult at that time. But let's get some tarot cards to find out more about the message from your spirit guides and ancestors. We have 7 of Swords, Queen of Cups, Temperance, the Pope or Hierophant, and the 9 of Cups. Okay, let's see. I feel that those cards are speaking a lot about balance, with this very symmetrical image of the 3x3 and this sort of symmetrical picture of 3 swords pointing that way and 3 pointing that way, and then the Temperance in the middle, which is also a card of balance. So the message I'm getting here is to find power and balance within yourself, no matter how difficult outside circumstances might be. Have faith in your own knowledge, in your own wisdom, in your own intuition, in your own power is what I'm getting. And with the Queen of Cups, maybe you are a healer. I'm getting strong healing energies from that card, but also again emotional balance and also caring for others and a lot of wisdom or spiritual wisdom. Again, the Hierophant is a card where people will seek wisdom from a community leader or someone who is the keeper of knowledge, the keeper of wisdom in a very traditional way. So maybe you are meant to pick up or follow a specific tradition. Maybe that tradition has to do with your ancestors. It doesn't have to be. I mean, nowadays there are so many different traditions that are accessible to everyone. and that anyone could pick up. Okay, let's see what else this reading might be about. Celestial Queen, the stars will guide you. Interesting, a lot about guidance. Okay, 2 cards fell to the floor. I'm going to pick them up. And we have the Green Man, it's time to grow. And Harvest, Ritual, trust the endings in life. It's very interesting, especially because these 2 cards came out together. It's time to grow and trust the endings in life. But also with the symbolism of the harvest on this card. And it's very fitting for the season, of course, that for you it is time to make a bit of a cut and bring in the harvest and reflect on what you have achieved so far and celebrate your achievements and celebrate how far you've come, but also make plans or open up to something new coming in, something new growing. Maybe more of a connection to nature, maybe more of a connection to the moon and stars. Maybe a more witchy way of life, and allowing yourself to be guided to that. And of course it was a Moonstone. I mentioned in the intro that it is very connected to developing your intuition and developing your psychic abilities. So maybe that is something that you are interested in, and you could be guided to do more of that. Or maybe work with herbs, work as a healer. All of those things are coming through. So pick which one you resonate the most with, or maybe it's all 3 of them. And also because she obviously was a person of color, and I think she's probably also the only card in this deck showing a person of color. Maybe your path also has to do with belonging to a marginalized group and doing some activist activity for that marginalized group, or maybe becoming an ally to someone else who is a member of a marginalized group. And find your power despite that. Despite the odds. You are being guided to it. It's being supported by the universe. And with these 2 cards at the end, I am getting stop self-sabotaging by thinking that it is not possible, or by thinking that you don't deserve it, or that this is not meant for you. And maybe you have the idea that you can't afford to make time for your spiritual path, for exploring a spiritual path. Maybe you feel that that is a luxury that you can't afford, and that maybe you have to spend your time on other obligations, like your work or your family, or I don't know what obligations you have. But I feel the guides are telling you now that it is important to make time for it, and it will actually help you be successful and be emotionally fulfilled in the long run. Okay, let's get 2 more cards and see what else wants to come through. And we have Grumpy Red Fairy, be your true self. Yes, that goes very well with what I've already mentioned. To grow into that power, to grow into your abilities, to let yourself be guided, and thereby connect more to your innate wisdom, to your intuition, to who you really are. And maybe you need to be grumpy, and maybe you need to stand up for yourself, and maybe you need to stand up for your right to do that, to go there. And sometimes we don't allow ourselves to be angry, and we are just being sad or scared instead. But if you can tap into your anger, that might actually give you the fuel you need to move forward on your path. Of course, don't be irrational and don't be impulsive. Still be strategical and use your mind and your common sense, but maybe that's a clue for you to tap into your power, to tap into your anger first. And there we have shallow grave, you miss someone. And it's interesting because with this card, I'm not getting the you miss someone. Maybe you are, and then also, of course, this is a good time of year to connect to them, or as I mentioned in the intro, maybe just light a candle for them, or maybe say a prayer, whatever you do to honor them, to connect with them, to remember them. But also for me, it ties in with this card, the trust the endings in life, and then be reborn. And there might be a period of transformation for you coming up. Or maybe you feel that something has already ended and you're just waiting for a path opening up into a new path, into a new life. And for that, I think anger and being true to yourself could be the clue. Making an effort to be more authentic and connecting to your spiritual gifts and powers, and maybe also your ancestors. Maybe your ancestors miss you. They miss connecting with you. Okay, let's get one more card to see if your ancestors have any more messages or blessings for you. I'm getting this card, Wisdom. On a Wednesday with a waxing moon, let wisdom come and be renewed. With the 2 owls, very cute. Yeah, so this ties again in very nicely with the messages we've already gotten, that the spirit of Marie Laveau or the spirit of your ancestors wants to guide you to wisdom, and maybe the wisdom of their craft, like the herbalism. She was a midwife as well, so maybe that's a path you want to take, supporting women or supporting women's health or women's rights. I think you know what it is. And if you don't know what it is yet, I would strongly suggest to make space for it, because it is time to grow into it, and it is time to let yourself be guided by the stars, by your inner guides, by your ancestors. And you have the potential again to be a great healer, to be a very wise person, to serve your community in that way without neglecting yourself. That is very important, this balance between doing what you know is right, but also taking care of your own security and safety at the same time. And I am hearing you are powerful, you are beautiful, you are blessed. And with that message from your ancestors, I will say goodbye for now. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Please consider liking and subscribing, and see you next time. Hello again, and let's get started with your reading. So you chose the Obsidian, and for this group we got actually 2 cards, so let's find out who they are. And we have Joan of Arc, the Divine Guide, and the card says, you have been chosen to carry out a higher purpose. Trust in your inner voice and have faith in yourself, for you are capable of great things. Joan of Arc lived from 1412 to 1431, and it says a French military leader who claimed to have been guided by divine voices. And you also have Isabel Godey, persecution and martyrdom. Do not let others define who you are. Stand strong in your beliefs and never fear persecution for practicing your spirituality. And Isabel Godey lived in the 17th century, and it says, a Scottish woman who was accused of practicing witchcraft and making a pact with the devil. Now, I don't know too much about Isabel Godey, and unfortunately this deck doesn't have a guidebook, but I will tell you a bit about what I know of Joan of Arc. So when she was only 17 years old, she had visions from angels and saints who told her that she should lead a military campaign for France against the English. And she actually led a couple of successful campaigns, even though obviously she had no military training whatsoever. She just had those visions. However, later on, she was accused of heresy. And it was said that those visions she received, they weren't from a divine source, they actually were demonic visions. And also part of why she was accused of heresy is wearing man's clothing. It's interesting because as long as she was helping the French in their military victory, she was accepted and her visions were accepted. But then later on, when the war didn't go well, it suddenly was flipped around and she was accused of those things. And she was also, of course, convicted and burned at the stakes. And as legend has it, her heart was so pure that it wouldn't burn. And also later on, the verdict was revoked and she officially became a martyr of her faith, and she today is a patron saint of France. The messages I am getting are about how dangerous it was at that time to be, even as a Christian, to be connected to the divine, because it could be flipped around and you could be accused of witchcraft. Or as here with Isabel Godey, it says she was accused of making a pact with the devil. And it was sort of arbitrary who was accused of those things and who was considered a real mystic and a real sort of divine vessel. Maybe you are fearful of following your own voice, or maybe you are very connected to what is called the witch wound because of this history of persecution of witches. And of course, in some countries it might be dangerous to openly consider yourself a witch or to follow any religious beliefs or any spiritual beliefs that are not the mainstream religion in that country. However, I feel with those two cards, your guides and your ancestors are encouraging you to follow your own spiritual path. And of course, it doesn't have to be openly, but just allow yourself to connect to it, to learn about it, and maybe to learn about your ancestors. Allow yourself to be guided to it. But let's see what the tarot cards have to say. The King of Pentacles, the Three of Wands, the Page of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Seven of Wands. The first thing that I'm feeling is that maybe you are a bit lost or confused with all the papers fluttering around you, and here you're sort of in the middle of the void on a cloud. And it's interesting because, of course, the pentacles are connected to the earth element, but here you seem to be floating in the nothingness. So I feel that there's something about you where maybe you feel a bit disconnected to your own life or to your own path or to your own body even. Or maybe you have a very spiritual life and it is difficult for you to deal with those more mundane earthly topics, like taking care of your body, earning a living, establishing yourself in society. Maybe that is a difficulty. Yeah, again, I'm not sure yet what it is because I'm just getting this sense of feeling a bit lost, feeling a bit conflicted even with the Seven of Wands. Maybe there's different sides to yourself and you don't know how to bring them together, and you should bring them together so they tie together neatly, and then a path will open up for you. But right now it sort of feels like the energies are moving in all different directions, and again, you have difficulty grounding them or bringing them to earth or bringing them into this world. Maybe you live a bit too much in your dreams, or you have a lot of ideas but don't know how to execute them, something like that. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, so let's take some more cards to find out. And this card was stuck to the table, so I'm taking it, and it says, "Blessed resilience, you can weather the storm." And again, this card ties very much back to those two cards, where someone is persecuted as a witch, and there's even the noose already around her neck, but also she has a resilience, she has the power, she has the ability to escape with a broom here. And with the little cat that is helping her. And I think the cat is a symbol of the spirit guide. So maybe you are in a tricky situation right now, but your guides really want you to move out of it, and they really want to help you move out of it. And then we have enchantments. Use your words consciously. Yeah, and with that, the first thing I'm hearing is you don't even know how powerful you are. I think you feel a bit weak or trapped, or as I mentioned before, lost, but really you're quite powerful. But you have to find out first what it is that you actually want to do, and maybe write it down with a journal here and the book there. Maybe you need to have a plan or develop a plan, or maybe find out more about those things and what it actually is that your inner conflict is about. What the scary monster is that maybe is sort of lurking in your subconscious, or is like a relic of the past, something that scared you and you're still scared of it, and it is blocking your power somehow. Okay, I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but so let's get some more cards. And we have Angel of Alchemy, Miracle. Yes, whatever this situation is, you will get out of it. And Dress of Alchemy, Release your power. That's so interesting. Two cards mentioning alchemy. And again, something about power. Yes, I think this message, the main message from your ancestors, from your guides, is about becoming aware of your power by connecting both to your guides, but also to the more practical aspects of life. tending to your body, tending to your obligations. And with the miracle, I feel it will all come together. This card really is giving me the sense, especially in combination with the miracle card, that things will fall into place, and only then will you see the whole pattern, and only then will it make sense. And this is kind of also how alchemy works, right? That you take something that isn't worth much, like the lead in alchemy, or the problems you're having right now, and you transmute them and they become gold. So I'm not one to say that everything happens for a purpose, but I still believe that even the most difficult situation, you can learn something from it, and you can actually use it to develop your power and to become even stronger. And I think that's the process you're in at this moment. The alchemical process, where different things have to come together, and then you will rise up. Because also both of these cards, they have wings, right? So you will become the phoenix rising out of the fire, is what I'm hearing. But you need to learn to trust yourself, is what I'm hearing. And also trust your body, is what I'm hearing. So, of course, I don't know what your situation is, but with hearing trust your body, I could imagine that maybe it has to do with feeling a bit of stress or burnout, or being tired, or feeling weak, or maybe you had some injuries or some other things going on with your body. And I mean, of course, always check them out and make sure you take proper care of your body in a medical sense. But also with this reading, I'm getting that your body has a message for you. And once you understand this message, it will actually help you to move forward. So if that is a message for you, I think you will know what I am talking about. Okay, let's get one more card to see if your ancestors have any other messages or blessings for you. I'm getting this card, Romance. Romance is a sacred power. Let it come to me this hour. Yeah, and I love the strong red energy coming in. And I'm not taking it quite as literally, the word romance, but just sort of the life force coming back, the passion coming back, the joy coming back. I think you will have a new outlook on life, and you will love yourself and your life more. And maybe there's some other people you want to connect to, or a romantic relationship, but I think in this case it's more about loving yourself, loving your body, loving your life. And it's interesting because we have the number 23 twice. So I think another message is to look out for synchronicities in your life. Maybe you are into angel numbers, or maybe you will receive signs or symbols. And I am hearing you are protected. I think that is probably important for you to know, because with those first cards where it says, don't fear persecution, maybe there's something that you're really scared of. Maybe you're scared to show yourself, or to show up for yourself in the way you, in your heart of hearts, know that you need to. And again, as I'm always saying, of course, use common sense and be careful where you have to be careful. But also know that your guides, your ancestors are here to tell you that you are protected, and at least open yourself up to those new opportunities. You don't have to share them with everyone, but find your guides, or maybe find some friends you can share that with, and then work on those things that are conflicting or inner conflicts or emotional conflicts or fears that you are having. Or maybe for some of you, this is just a message of encouragement because you might be having a bit of a difficult time, but you will develop resilience. You will be able to get through it, and you will be able to alchemize your pain and make something beautiful out of it. But also the message of caution. So don't throw caution to the wind. Don't be hasty. Don't be impulsive. I'd say be methodical, and as I think we mentioned before, make a plan. Make a plan. Be grounded. Stay grounded. Take one step at a time. With the pentacle energies here. And I'm hearing you will be able to manifest the things you want. And I think what's blocking you most at the moment is your self-doubt or your inner conflicts or your inner fears. And I think for you now, it's important to focus on the positive, to reignite your passion for life, to allow the earth to nurture you and to support your body, and to allow your guides to, your ancestors and your spirit guides to guide you and protect you. And another message for you, I think, is you don't have to do everything by yourself. Seek out friends, seek out community, seek out family, seek out people that could help you, but also turn to both nature and the spiritual realm for help and guidance is what I'm hearing. And another message I'm hearing is you have unique gifts and talents, embrace them. That's what I heard. Okay, so I think that is the message from your guides and ancestors. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. Please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and see you next time. Hello again, and let's get started with your reading. So you chose this Ancient Ember, and let's see who is on this card for you. And it says Lady Alice Keitler, or Keitler. Celebrate your uniqueness and never be afraid to stand out from the crowd. Lady Alice Keitler, 13th century, an Irish noblewoman who was accused of witchcraft and was the subject of the first recorded witchcraft trial in Ireland. And on the card it also says unconventional spirit. So I'm guessing that you are a very unconventional spirit, an unconventional person in some way or another maybe. And what I do know about Alice Keitler is that she was married 4 times and widowed 4 times. Because of that, people thought that she might have actually had something to do with her husband's death. And she somehow instigated it to gain that money, to gain that wealth from him. But what she was actually accused of was having a demon lover. He was said to be an incubus, so a demon in male form who would have a sexual relationship with her. She was convicted of witchcraft, and yeah, so the first thing I'm getting from this card is to embrace your uniqueness and to follow your unique path, even if it is an unconventional path. But let's find out more by having a look at your tarot cards. And I saw this card, the 6 of Cups, the Knight of Swords, La Maison de Dieu, and that's the House of God or the Tower, the 5 of Swords, and Justice. Very powerful and interesting cards. With that card, the first thing I heard is you're definitely challenging the status quo. And maybe you're choosing to seek justice in a personal matter, or you're using the law to further a cause. Like, for example, there are people who are suing companies or countries for those that don't have a voice. For example, for the environment or for women's rights. And we've come a long way in women's rights or other things like that. Or it's not that long ago that you could actually go to prison for being homosexual. And I know there's a lot of countries in the world still today where those things are being persecuted and where women don't have the rights they should have, and definitely don't have equal rights to men. But those are just a few examples of how you might want to bring justice to this world, maybe in a very literal sense, as we just talked about, or maybe in a more metaphorical sense, that you want to advocate for certain causes or certain people or certain groups of people or the environment or animals. Maybe you are some sort of an activist, or maybe not even that. Maybe it's just the way you live. Maybe you're an artist or a musician, or you create something that somehow challenges the status quo, that somehow challenges opinions that people have. And maybe it's on a grand scale, but maybe it's just also your very personal life that is having an impact, maybe on a political scale even. And with the Knight of Swords and the Five of Swords, I'm getting that you're not shying away from conflict. You're not shying away from fighting for what is right. But with the Six of Cups, I'm also getting that you're craving a bit of a relief or release, or some nurturing, some support. I think maybe this path or this fight or whatever it has been, or your activism or your art or your music, or maybe getting negative feedback for what you're doing or being criticized, or maybe you have some sort of quote-unquote enemies because you are speaking unpopular truth. And I think what you're craving is some sort of relief from that, some sort of harmony, pause, peace of mind, like a retreat, some soul healing maybe even. And maybe that is what has been driving you, that you feel that you've been treated unfairly. And maybe the drive you have, the drive that I'm seeing really comes from a unhealed pain. Okay, but let's get some more cards to gain more clarity on what this is actually about, what this message from your ancestors and your spirit guides is about. And we have Under Siege, uproot your habits. Interesting. Under siege, definitely you probably feel like you have to defend yourself against someone or something. And we have Beacon of Fortitude, ground and connect. And this card reminds me a bit of the Ace of Pentacles in Tarot. Ground and connect. Yeah, I think you've maybe been very lonely in this path, and maybe you felt that you have to put up strong walls. But it could have been that always fighting, always being on the defense, that has actually become sort of a habit, and maybe you are fighting and putting up walls even where you wouldn't need to put them up. And with this nurturing and healing that I felt that you are craving, I think maybe you're also craving connection to other people. Maybe you have a difficult time letting other people into your life or connecting to other people. Or maybe you have a bit of judgment for people who are more conventional than you or who don't agree with your opinions. And if that is the case, I think, and of course, I don't want to judge you if you have judgments of others. That's very understandable, especially if you feel like there's a fight that needs to be fought. For example, if you are a feminist, maybe women who are not feminist, maybe they enrage you or you feel hurt by them and maybe you are judging them. But I think what you need to understand is that not everybody is as strong and as clear in their convictions as you are, and not as strong and clear in their vision as you are. So this being unconventional, this standing up for yourself, that is a great gift that not everybody has. And I think if you understand that, you will not only appreciate yourself more, but you will also be able to let go of that judgment that you might have of others and connect more with all kinds of different people. And then you can be the beacon of fortitude for them, but also stay connected, stay grounded, and have sort of a support team or support group or just other people supporting you in your quest, but also in your personal life or you as a person. It's interesting because this reading seems to be very specific to a certain path, and I hope it resonates. I hope you can identify with it, and if not, I think maybe check out a different group or a different reading, because this seems to be very specific for people who are on a quest, on a mission, on a path to challenge a status quo, as I mentioned before, and to bring justice into this world, as I have mentioned before. But let's get some more cards. We have Angel de los Muertos, or Ángel de los Muertos, transition to the spirit realm. And we have Shallow Grave, you miss someone. Very interesting, because this is bringing in a totally different new aspect. Yeah, so I think maybe someone you connected to deeply, or someone who shared that path with you, might have transitioned over recently. And if you're grieving someone, I just want to mention that I am very sorry for your loss. But this could also point to maybe ancestors or role models that have passed over maybe a longer time ago, maybe a really, really long time ago. Maybe you didn't even know them personally, but you can still connect to them, as a message that I'm getting, and get strength and support and guidance from them, and gain inspiration from them. Because if that is your path, I think there's a great danger for you to burn out. And also there's a great danger to sort of make people angry or upset with you, and those people might want to go against you. So overall, I'm feeling, while this is a very, of course, noble cause, it might be a bit tricky to not burn out, or to get the things that you want, the things that would nourish you, and maybe the relationships you want, or the relationships that would nourish you. I'm getting a bit of a sense that you might have neglected your softer, more emotional side a bit by fighting the good fight, or by having a very clear vision and focusing everything on that vision, on that work that you want to do. And you have something to say. I'm clearly getting that, and whether you express it through art or activism or something else, you do have a lot to say. But maybe right now is a time to take a bit of a pause and go inward and make some adjustments and make sure that you find a path forward that is sustainable for you, so that you don't burn out, or you're not only surrounded by quote unquote your enemies or people you've upset, but you're also surrounded by your friends and supporters and your family and your spirit guides. Because I feel if you connect to your spirit guides, to your ancestors, they will support this quest also. And I feel right now maybe it's a bit unsupported. Maybe you're just doing it all with your own vision, your own power, but somehow I feel right now you're on a bit of a lonely path, and you don't have to be. Okay, let's see if your ancestors, your spirit guides, have another message for you. Okay, 2 cards flipped out. We have Inspiration. Isis, goddess of magic, I ask thee to bring your inspiration to me. Yeah, that ties very well into what I just mentioned, to have the ancestors support and guide you, and maybe give you insight and inspiration for your path. And then we have Grace. Grace, blessing, come to me to set me free. I feel that grace is a beautiful description of how you could bring those two energies together, the more soft emotional energy and the very active and focused and driven energy. And yeah, so maybe get out of what you might call fight mode and get more into a space where what you're doing is driven by inspiration and has maybe a graceful, maybe artistic expression to it. Because also that's how you will be able to express things in a way that is more exceptional, to express your views in a way that is more exceptional if you do it in a graceful or artistic or beautiful way. And that is not to say to quiet your voice or to lower your voice or to be less active, but maybe for you it would be helpful to make some small adjustments and find ways where it feels more playful, more creative, more supportive, where you don't feel under siege, where you don't feel you have to hide away in this tree trunk, where you gain your strength through grounding and connecting and being maybe part of a bigger group or being part of the bigger picture. Again, I'm hearing you're not alone in this, and I think it will be important for you to connect to like-minded spirits, to connect to your spirit guides and your ancestors, to allow for divine inspiration and maybe even the divine grace. Maybe there are some blessings that want to come into your life, and you have to allow yourself to open up to them more by becoming a bit more open and soft and emotional. And going back to the judgment, I think usually when we judge other people harshly, we also judge ourselves harshly. So maybe you felt for a long time that you need a bit of a shift or need a bit of a break or a bit of a rest, and you didn't allow yourself to do that because you were judging yourself, or maybe you have very high standards for yourself and you feel that you have to be living up to them all the time. But maybe now it's the time to learn how to be more human, is what I'm hearing, and to embrace all aspects of you, even what you consider your weak parts or your flawed parts. Okay, yes, those are the messages your spirit guides and ancestors wanted to bring to you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Please consider liking and subscribing, and see you next time.